Everyone else had done it.
I thought he'd leave me.
We weren't thinking. We loved each other.
It just happened.
You never think it's going to happen to you. One mistake can change your entire life.
People make it seem like it's just so easy and fun, like it's not a big deal. They never mention what happens after.
Regret.
Guilt.
Loneliness.
Heartbreak.
Sickness. These are side effects of having sex too.
Why haven't we been told the truth?
You've heard of HPV? 20 million Americans are currently infected with HPV.
You've heard of chlamydia? There are approximately 3 million new cases of chlamydia each year in teens.
But have you heard of loneliness?
Most girls think that their boyfriend will leave if they don't put out for him, but in reality, sleeping with him may gain a cheap thrill, but it makes him lose respect for her.
Have you heard of heartbreak?
But it's more likely he'll just leave you anyway, and then you've lost a part of yourself you can never get back, so you will end up with no man and no peace of mind.
Have you heard of regret?
You can only lose your virginity once.
Do you really want to lose it for someone you don't really love?
Do you really want to lose it for someone who won't stay with you? Don't abuse it. Wait for the one. Wait for marriage.
Have you heard of guilt?
You have already lost your purity. How do you explain to your friends you have an STD? How do you tell your parents you're pregnant? On your wedding night, how do you explain to your spouse that you have already slept with someone else?
Have you heard of sickness?
1 in 2 sexually active youth will contract an STD by age 25.
3 to 4 million teens contract a new STD every year. That's 10,000 a day.
%85 of women, 50% of men have no symptoms.
Do you want someone to inject 5 cc's of blood into your arm if you didn't know where it came from? Of course not. So why would you let someone inject 5 cc's of semen into your reproductive tract if you weren't absolutely sure it was safe?
Condoms are promoted as protecting you from disease and pregnancy, but in reality, condoms have a 15% annual failure rate in preventing pregnancies.
Condoms have a 68% failure rate per year for protection from HPV.
Condoms have a 31% failure rate with HIV and AIDS.
HPV has been found in 75% of sexually active people.
The virus infects at least 46% of teenage girls after their first sexual intercourse.
Viral STDs stay with you for life. There is no cure for HPV, herpes, AIDS, or other viral STDs.
One more thing about virginity. Many of these STDs do not require the actual act of sex for transmission.
Outer course, oral sex, anal sex, and just about any genital contact have a risk of STD transmission with it. It's all sex.
Plus, there is an emotional issue also. Don't think in terms of technical virginity. Think in terms of complete purity. Think about how the physical things you do now would look to your future spouse. Would they see it as non-sexual?
.2% of high school students are sexually active.
46% of high school students have had sex.
5.9% of kids under the age of 13 have had sex.
It's time to wise up and take control of our own lives and bodies and stop believing whatever sounds good. The truth isn't always what we want to hear, but it can save lives. Abstinence can save lives.
Abstinence is the only form of birth control that is 100% effective. You can't always protect your heart, but at least you can protect your health.
A word to the guys out there. It's time to return to the times of chivalry. Most of these STDs affect the women far worse than they do the men. Many of these STDs can be managed for men, but for women they can be fatal.
Guys, you are given greater strength and courage to be the protector of the women in your life, not the predator. You are made to do great things to win a woman's heart. Stand up and be great.
Protect the ladies in your life. Someday you will enjoy the pure joy of sexual love in a committed relationship, and the clear conscience of knowing that you took a stand for what is right.
We are sexual beings, and that's not a bad thing or something to be afraid of, but the only safe sex is with a safe partner, and that means you have to be a safe partner to others too.
We need to be mature in our thoughts and actions before having sex. We need to commit to one partner in a long-term relationship, what has always been called marriage.
We must have safeguards in place to maintain our purity until then. It's easy to talk about waiting until marriage, but we have to make a plan in our minds to guard our hearts and our bodies until that day when we seal the deal with our marriage partner.
Here are a few ways to help maintain our purity.
Don't be alone in a private place with one of your dates. This brings immediate temptation that is unnecessary.
Try to put off serious relationships until you are emotionally mature.
Be accountable to a parent or another adult you trust. When you do date, let them know where you will be, for how long, and what time you will be back.
When you choose to date, talk about expectations in this area. Have a plan if things get too intimate.
So what are you going to choose? A clear conscience towards yourself and your future spouse, or momentary fun and a life of regret?
Think about it.